the race for Schimmel is somewhere between 48.5 and 50.1, and right now Crawford is somewhere between 48 and 50%. So with 2 to 4% undecided, and then a lot of questions about what turnout is going to look like, right? Like any model, any survey is in terms of an election. I'm less inclined to say here's exactly where things are in terms of. I'm not making predictions. I'm just telling you where things are right now. So who are these people that are? If it's really low turnout, that probably works to Schimmel's advantage. If it's really high turnout, it probably works to Crawford's advantage. There's kind of 4 sweet spots in this. Low turnout, really low turnout helps Schimmel. Turnout that goes above that works Crawford's edge, and then moderate turnout kind of goes back to Schimmel, assuming that some of these low propensity Trump voters in more rural counties show up, and then really high turnout goes back to Crawford, really, because that's even lower propensity voters in Milwaukee and Dane County. It's hard to say. I mean, people just need to get out and vote. The people who are still undecided about this thing, they tend to be more moderate to slightly conservative. There aren't a lot of liberals still on the table, or people on the left. They're all in for Crawford. They tend to reside more in rural places. The counties that are going to matter from a turnout perspective for Crawford are Milwaukee and Dane. For Schimmel, it's going to depend a little bit on how much erosion there is in the WOW counties. They have been trending a little bit more towards the Democrats, and the battlegrounds are really
stop you right there
brown.
just for a second. That don't know what WOW stands for. It's those counties around Waukesha, Ozaki, and Waushara, right? Right around
Washington, Waukesha, and Ozaki.
Right around.
It's going to be places like Oconomowoc, some of those kinds of places, and then really the key battlegrounds. Pewaukee, River Hills. You know how that's going to vote, but I think that's technically Milwaukee County anyway.
Right.
But key battlegrounds: Brown, Outagamie, Winnebago, so up in the valley, Racine, Kenosha, and then La Crosse, Eau Claire, and St. Croix. Those will be the places that have enough votes. And when you start talking about some of those western Wisconsin counties, they're some of the most purple counties in the state, and they have enough population that they matter, right? So as you know, like the work that I do with the Lincoln Democracy Institute, we focus a lot on personalities and cognitive traits. The people who are undecided or who are leaning one way or the other, they tend to be very cognitively reflexive, which means they're people who are actually consciously thinking about the choice that they're going to have to make. And I suspect there's a little bit of them that are torn between uncomfortable with what's happening. They're more conservative, right-leaning, center-right-leaning, so their habit of tending to vote for Republicans and looking at people on the left with a little bit of skepticism. So it's really important on Crawford's part to reinforce, I think, personally who she is with the attacks that are being levied at her and doing it directly herself. They're conscientious, they're extroverted, they tend to be agreeable. The people on the left and the right have made up their decision. They know how they're going to vote. The ones who are going to change are sort of that right of center people. So,
yeah, it's really interesting, again, for people like you and I who really dig down into this. And as you and I were talking, yesterday, kind of preparing, I guess my big takeaway, Trygve, maybe it sounds oversimplistic, but again, I think there are people out there that may think, does my vote matter? I see so many ads for Schimmel, and now there's larger buys we're hearing for Crawford as well. But there's a big influx of new ads from Elon Musk's PAC. Again, he is approaching, I think, $19 million that he himself and his PAC have put in. We're now at north of $80 million combined between both candidates and third-party spending in this. And I think people are just going, it doesn't matter. This thing is just baked. And the takeaway for me, Trygve, is Every single freaking vote is going to matter because it's so close, and this race is not over, and it's going to come down to every person listening to us and whether they go out and vote, which will decide this election.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this election is going to be really close, and about 1.2 to 1.6% of Wisconsin voters fall in this category of people who were Evers Johnson voters and Harris and Trump Baldwin voters,
Mhm.
and they're high propensity voters. Actually, I mean, they're thoughtful. They are going to be key in this.
Yeah.
Key.
But I
Yeah.
think it's just so important. I know we say this before every election, have a plan, be a voter, but I get it. Just because I've been around the state a lot, I listen to a lot of folks at bars and grocery stores, and people are just so fed up. And there are people on both political spectrum, both sides of the aisles, that are fed up. But I'm not just giving you false hope here, because Trygve really knows this stuff and studies it and is in touch with other people to kind of verify. He doesn't just come on here and say this. This is a guy who really does a lot of homework, and we don't give him enough credit on this show. And you're a humble guy, Trygve, but you know this stuff, and it's going to be enormously close. And so I want to give people real hope that your vote really does matter in this election. Going to the polls, casting. This could be within the margin of error, Trygve, where it triggers an automatic recount, right?
Yeah, 100% for sure. I mean, that 0.5% is the
Yeah.
is the threshold. Now, you know, if the people who are most likely to show up, and campaigns matter, I will say that Schimel may have overstepped based to a degree on what I've been seeing in attacking. There are a lot of more people in that sort of middle who feel like she's been unfairly attacked, but she has got to be responding directly to the kind of hits. And I think, nothing says where the race is at more than the actions that you're seeing that campaigns are taking for people like you and I who are watching it. And, the fact that Schimel is pivoting to sort of, I mean, they've become a category of their own, the trans ads, right?
Mhm.
Like, the fact
Which
that
are
they're
just
pivoting
ridiculous,
into
by the
that
way.
is,
Yeah.
you know,
It's trying to scare their very conservative base into making sure they go to the polls by giving out inaccurate and untruthful information against Susan Crawford on her stance against trans people and what, people may be doing to their children. Again, it's all scare tactics, untrue, but it's to motivate them to get them to the polls. 855-752-4842. Rob in Port Edwards calling in. Rob, thanks for listening. What do you got?
Hi there. Good show, folks.
Thank you.
I've been canvassing for Susan Crawford and Joe and for no on the constitutional amendment here for over a month. And I've learned a lot in this whole process. And I'm canvassing my community of Port Edwards. And what I'm finding is many folks don't have a clue anything at all about the candidates. And with all due respect to you folks in the media, television, radio, internet, however, God bless you all, keep doing it. Don't stop. But the point I'm getting at is these folks, they're smart people, they're great people, but they don't know enough about the candidates in particular. They don't know when, where, how to vote in particular in our little community. And so my encouragement to each and every listener out there, if you are passionate about this, and I hope you are because this is huge, you talk to people. And it doesn't matter if they are known Democrats, talk to people and encourage them and give them straight information. Don't tell them stories, but the most important part is that they know exactly what this is about, who the players are in respect to the issues, and where and when and how to vote. That's my encouragement.
Rob,
Thank you.
hey, Rob, don't hang up. Before you go,
I'm here.
I just want to say this. It's only Wednesday, but so far you're in the top running for best call of the week. That's fantastic.
yeah,
Really.
100%, maybe the month.
Yeah, really, because if people don't know where Port Edwards is, Trygve and I were in your neck of the woods here last fall. It's just south of Wisconsin Rapids and north of Nakusa. It's a beautiful part of the state.
Yes, we're on the river. Yeah,
right.
we get yes, we have water here.
Yeah, right.
But we also it's a very red community. But that being said, I am encouraged by folks that I had thought were very red. I'm finding out that they're closet Democrats in some cases, and they really need encouragement to speak their mind and do that via a vote.
And
I'm encouraged, but I'm scared. This
But-
is, you know, the vast amount of money is being spent is just obscene.
I'm going to let Trygve speak to this, but Trygve, I think what Rob just said there, if you want to know the way to cut through $80 million of crap, and I got to clean it up for radio, the relationships you have one-on-one with your friends and family is more powerful. Agree or disagree, Trygve?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that, and it's not about lecturing them or it's about asking them questions and leading them to understand what's at stake, and and having faith that they're gonna make the right choice if you help lead them to it.
Yeah. Really great call, Rob. Thanks for all the work
There's
you're
a
doing. Go ahead.
There's a great BBC article right now that you could read on how to approach people that you believe have a differing opinion. And it's a good short read, but what you really don't want to do is be confrontational or be out to change their mind. What you want to do is elicit their opinion and their rationale and respect that. Okay, I don't believe the same things you believe in, but if you respect these people, odds are they're going to say, hey, this guy's, you know, he's square. He's got a point there. So anyway, God bless you all.
Hey,
Take care.
thank
Bye-bye.
you, Rob.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
mean, that's the way to do it, right, Trygve? Right there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, 100%.
I mean, go to every political
100%.
conference you want, but I mean, you're not going to learn anything better than what Rob just told us from Port Edwards.